Okay, let's take a look at the lead guitar parts in this song. The first parts we hear are the intro, where we got those harmony guitars taking that motif on the intro. Does this. Here's the lower harmony. Okay, we start on the B string. We're going 14, 15, bend up to, 14, 16, bend up to 17. It's a little semitone bend. And you've got the vib on the bend, making a nice sweet vib on that bend. And then we bend into that 17 from the 16, back down, 16, 17, back down to 16. Down to from the 14 to the 12, and then we got to slide up to the 14, a straight pick on the 12, and a straight pick on the 13 on the G. So it's fairly obvious if I play it really, really slowly. First line repeats. And then we go down to the G string, which is the 13, down to the 11, down to the root note on the 9. Or you could play it, if you fancy hitting the root note there on the D string on the 14th fret. So the whole piece, slightly slower, just so you can see it in context. 3, 4, 1. And there's a harmony that sits above that, does this. So this is on the E string, and we're going 12, 14, 16, slide in from the 14 to the 16, and then bend to the 14, 16, up, down. And that goes down to the 12, down to the 11. And then we bend the 11 to the 12 on the B, back down to the 11, and land on the 12 on the B string. So slowly. Repeats. Sorry, it slides in. So as we come down to the B string, the only difference on that, the last round, is the, you'd think it would go to match the harmony, but it doesn't do that. He actually misses a note out. It's just, he just gives a suggestion of just gives a suggestion of the 14th fret on the B. But it's not as obvious as that. If you listen very closely, there doesn't seem to be a definite note at that point. It just sort of goes like this. Which is quite a nice touch, actually. So, the higher harmony, all in context, slightly slower. Here we go. Okay, these harmony guitars are the same wherever they happen, and they go round and round on the outro of the song. All right, let's take a look at the main solo. Lovely solo using a C sharp minor pentatonic. Does this. So this is a beautiful, to-the-point solo, really nice bluesy feel. Here's our pentatonics position. There's position 1. Position 2, we start in position 1, which is on the B string, going 9 to 12, up to the 14 to 16, although it doesn't quite make the 16th bend, it's a feel thing. Coming down to the G string, we're bending the 13 to the up to the 16. This is the bend, it's still on the G string, bending the 11 to the 13. Bend it twice, come down to the 9 on the G, and land on the A11. So you get, it's like a lift off. Just lift your finger off to reach that 9 on the G. So just to recap from the top, we've got here's my favourite phrase, does this. So this is first finger, I'm using my first and third finger, 9th fret to the 12th fret on the B and the E string, and you get, this is 9, 12, 9 on up to the E, and the secret to this is give a little bend to each note rather than play it straight. This is playing it straight. It's not that, it's a little sort of bend as you play each note. This is a bend 12, this is on the E string bending the 12. It's sort of not really, it's not a definite bend, it's not a tone bend, it's just a bluesy sort of quarter note bend. This is coming down to the 9 on the E and the B. And then you've got this is quite an important bend, this 12 to 14 bend. It's one of those ones where you bend up and just leave it there, let it choke it so it doesn't come back down. And then you vib the 12th fret. So we get. Lovely phrase. This next, it's a rake upwards, starting on, this is raking the E and the B, we're raking from the 9th fret, and as we rake, we pull from the 12 down to the 9 on the B. You don't want to overanalyze it, you don't want it to sound so specific that it's, because it's not, it's more of a, it's a real bluesy attitude thing. The rake carries on, as you've gone, you now rake on upwards on the, from the B, the 9B to the G string, which is on the 11. As you play it slow, it doesn't quite have the same effect. This is bending the G, 11 to 13, down, coming down 9 on the G, down 13 and 9 on the D. And then landing on that 11 of the G. So it's one of those things, if you try and analyse it, it won't sound the same. It's just a sort of a real bluesy rake up over the pentatonic. And he ends the phrase taking this sort of double stop slide. You could also play it whichever suits you, but I think he's playing it here. This is the 11 and the 12 on the G and the B string, sliding up to the, just up a tone and down again. And the reason I think he's playing it there is because the way he vibs the last, which is a different sound to vib it here. You can't really get that. It's not the sort of same sort of feel. So your choice where you want to do it. I think he's playing it here. So let's go from the top, slightly slower. just so you can see it all in context. Great solo, does this. While I've got this sound, we'll take a look at some of the licks he's playing on that outro. The first one does this, really nice. So this is bending. We're bending our 12th fret on the B string, starting on the 9 to the 12. And it's that same technique again, where you bend up but choke the note. This is coming down from the bend, pulling off to the 9, 11 on the G, and then with my little finger I'm pulling off from the 12 to the 9 again on the B. And then it carries on down, pulling off on the G and the D from the 11 to the 9 on both strings. Nice opener. Next phrase does this. So this is a slide up D string. This is on the D string and the A string, sliding up 9 to 11, pulling off to the 9, and going down to the A string, sliding the 11 to the 9, pulling off to the 7, and resolving on the root note on the 9 of the E. But don't overanalyze it. It's a real feel thing. It's, it doesn't have to be exactly the same. It's a real, and the placement of it. He leaves a nice gap. He sort of that sort of thing. He leaves a nice gap. The next phrase goes on the E string, plays on the E string, goes higher up the pentatonic, and does this. Okay, this is top string, starting 12 to 14 bend. Coming back down from the 14 bend down to the 12. Then we've got this 11 to 12 bend and back down. Down to the 9. And just a little, resolve on that B12. It sort of repeats the phrase the second time. But we've got this little, which is the bend 11 to 12, and a little pull off to the 9. Pick the 12 on the B, and then pick the 9 on the B. So we get nice phrase. Next one does this. Okay, this run starts on the 12th fret, bending up to the 14 on the E string, back down to the 12. This is bending the 11 to the 12, and then the 9 to the 11. So we're going, got our bend, then the 11 to 12, and then pick 9 to 11, and then just touch that B12 down to the G string, little bluesy phrase, which is bending the 11 up to the 13 on the G, pull off to the 9, and then pull off 11 to 9 on the D. So we get. And then there's that there's that great moment where he does that real fast. you know, it's a real attitude thing. It's of the moment. I haven't counted specifically how many there are of them, and I don't think we should, because it's a real sort of buried in the track moment. But the lick is. This is bending the 12 to the 14, pulling off to the 9, and then doing the 11 to 9 flick on the G string. Just pull off. And then sometimes you can do it once, the bend once, and sometimes he does it twice. And then you just repeat it. And you know, then it's just a series of buried, sort of fast, just fast pentatonic phrases he's playing. You can just about hear on the fade where he goes up to the second position pentatonic. So I may do some stuff at the end on the performance, but it's just fading, and you can just hear him really going for the licks at the end there, just buried in. You can't quite hear what's going on, but it's buried behind the vocal. It's a nice touch. But you've got the 4 main phrases you hear at the end of the song. Okay, there's one last guitar part I just want to draw your attention to. There's a fantastic spooky guitar line in the center section. Double track, 1 high, 1 low, same notes, different octave. Does this, it's got lots of reverb and delay on it, but it does this. I'll play it and take you through it. So it's very simple, but it adds so much to the center section. We're playing on the B string with a nice slow 12 to 14 bend, and there doesn't seem to be any vibrato on the top of the bend. It's just left hanging. This is nice. You're just bending this is again on the B string, 9 to 10 up and down. Actually, the opening phrase does a little pick of the 12th string, the 12th fret first. Then it does the bend. Then it's the straight bend. One more. So that's the last phrase there. It's just coming down from that bend. You're bending 9 to 10, back down to the 9, on a G string, land on the 9. Then we go down to the D string. So that's the 11 on the D, and then bending the 9 to the 11. So put it all in context. I would say I'll play it slower, but it's quite slow anyway. So normal speed in context. Here we go. So the same line is duplicated an octave lower. I'm going to play it with our first note on the 4th fret of the G, which is a B note, bending up to the 6th fret. 3, 4. So, bending up 4 to 6. There's our little waver. On the D string, I'm bending the 6 to the 7. Last one. So that is just the D string bending the 6 to the 7, landing on our E note, which is the 7th fret of the A. Then we got our repeating wavers, repeating semitone bend. And the last phrase, which is I'm playing it on the A string, 4th fret, and then sliding up, D string 2 to 4. One round and then the ending. Here we go. 3, 4. So that's a great haunting guitar melody behind the vocal in that center section there. Fantastic. You've got all the component parts to the song now. It's, as you can hear, there's a lot of elements to this song. It's all about feel, bending, vibrato. You've got the tone at the beginning on that intro. You've got the harmony guitars coming in on the intro. You've got the little Hendrixy ad-libs during the verse. You've got the rhythmic acoustic, you know, behind the choruses. Great guitar solo and those little solo ad-libs at the end there. There's a lot to this song. Great song.